Student name Han Kim, student number 010-431-80107. Hello, my name is Kim and I am recording this video to submit for my midterm exam international security course. Now, I will have to summarize 7 weeks worth of class into a 10-minute video. It's going to be long, it's going to be vast and broad. However, I will do my best to summarize all of that into a 10-minute video, and I will be explaining using theoretical explanations as well as case studies that are relevant to the theoretical explanations. So first, we need to begin with what is security. Before we get into international security, we need to get into what is security. In its most basic form, security is survival from threat, freedom from threat. It is feeling safe. And many would argue that it is the most basic form of life, most basic foundation of life, because without security, there is no ensurement, there is no strong trust in survival. And for anyone or any entity, any actor, to achieve their maximum potential, they first need to survive. Survival needs to be ensured so that they can achieve their maximum potential. It was Joseph Stalin who I believe said that we might uphold the values of socialism, but for us to do so, we need to first exist. This is inherently true for every single entity on Earth, whether that be states, individuals, or international organizations. You need to exist first to uphold your own values. So this is why security is needed, to make things more predictable, to make things easier. Because if everyone is too caught up and too focused on their security, they will not have any effort to pursue what they are capable of. And now I would like to explain forms of security, traditional and non-traditional forms of security. Traditional security is very straightforward. It mostly deals with military, arms, and state. Traditional security can be soldiers exercising in military drills to ensure that no foreign actors invade your sovereignty, invade their border, thus enter the border without their permission. That and in itself is traditional security. It deals with state, it deals with military, and it deals with physical violence. There's also non-traditional security, economic security, societal security, and political security. Political security can be something of political stability. If a country that's stable, in a political sense, there's no coup, there's no riots, there's no protests, and there's a stable leader, then that is called political security. It is secure politically. Societal security is where identities of the people involved, the culture of the people involved are safe, it's ensured, and it can continue on. Could be also called cultural security, but that's what it's called, societal security, where the cultures, where the identity of the people are ensured and not enhanced, but ensured and allowed to go on and move on. There's also economic security, not having hyperinflation, not having stable prices, making sure that you can wake up the next morning and realize that you still have the same number of gas prices, same electrical bills, right? That is economic security. And many would argue that economic security is most deserving of the state's effort. And they can be correct in that, because without money, we cannot run infrastructure, we cannot run stable political systems, we cannot run cultures. And without all of this without all of this non-traditional security, traditional security cannot be upholded, because you need political systems, you need economy, and you need cultures to support traditional security. But then again, traditional security is also needed to uphold the day-to-day activities of these other non-traditional securities. So that is the difference between traditional and non-traditional security. And now I will move on to explain about the different paradigms, the different perspective on security. We first start off with many favorite, realism. Realism is one that defines that all actors are power hungry. They need to ensure power, which ensures security, which ensures survival. And security is almost just so inherent in this perspective. But also it's very, very embedded in traditional security. Now why is that? Because they believe that for the world to achieve international security, a realist will tell you that there needs to be balance of power. Because once there's balance of power, once actors feel secure in their own power, they will not go out in conflicts and violence to get more power, thus creating more security. It's almost like What came first, chicken or the egg? Well, security came first, or peace came first? That's that, right? And we also move on. And a good example of this is that we could say that Iran and Saudi Arabia, they engage in constant conflict with each other because they both don't feel secure in their position, in their power. And we could say, well, what would create peace in the Middle East? Well, if realists will tell you, if both actors feel secure in their own power, they will stop fighting. That's what a realist will tell you. There just needs to be balance of power for there to be security within a realist perspective. So now let's move on to liberalism paradigm, liberalism perspective. They would say that the good nature of human beings, the international law, and domestic institutions within the country is what provides security internationally. So, and the liberals will tell you that a peaceful country, a country that upholds human rights, a country that upholds international law, domestically, like Canada, you could also see maybe France, they will project peaceful foreign policies. And that is quite true. You could look at countries like Saudi Arabia, who is very authoritarian and does not have any regard for human rights. They're violent in the global stage. Or if you look at Canada, if you look at, say, Pacific Japan, if you look at France, they have a democratic, peaceful, and human rights upholding values in their own institutions. So they give out democratic policies to the world. So there's that. Now we move on to institutionalism. Institutionalists will tell you that the good nature of human beings, the good nature of people, and international law agreement is not enough. There needs to be institutions to support those good-natured values, good-natured values that are embedded within the human psyche. So this will be the creation of the UN. This will be the creation of the ICJ. This will be the creation of, you could say, ASEAN, for the sake of economic cooperation, which is also security, political stability, which is also security, and cultural exchange, which is also eventually builds up to security, and maybe even the EU. Basically, liberalism institutionalized is called institutionalism. And now the black sheep of them all is constructivism. What is it? Well, it'll say that we could say that interaction between actors will create new realities, will create new ideas and beliefs, and a new framework will be made where security can be optimized and the chances of war be minimized. So there's that. Finally, we need to move on to the actors within international security. Obviously, the state actors. And when it comes to realism, it's of course the state actors because they are the one with the most funds, or one of the most resources to uphold to have a monopoly on physical violence, but also protect its citizens from physical violence. It's usually only states that can do that. It could be the United States protecting its people. That's why they go out to war to destroy the terrorists overseas. That might be a threat to democracy. That could be Israel amping up its military so that the Jewish people will not feel again the wrath of the Holocaust. And that basically state actors that engage with each other for the sake of their sovereignty, for the sake of their state, in a individualistic sense, so government official, in institutional sense, government buildings and government institutions, and the idea of the state itself, state ideology. To protect all of that, that is traditional security, and realism is the one in that. And when it comes to constructivists, liberalists, and institutionalists, who are the main actors in this? Well, it's none other than non-state actors. For a non-traditional security like economic security, it could be the IMF, the World Bank, that provides bailouts, that provides funds for developing countries. That's economic security right there. And for political security, for settlements to be disputed so that there's stability, it could be the ICJ. That's political security right there. So things like, and of course, how can we forget non-government organizations that uphold environmental security, which is also very important. The negligence towards environmental security could create something like Chernobyl, create something like the Fukushima incident that has a huge effect on the other forms of security. Much like, because there was Chernobyl, not only it was environmentally damaging, but politically very damaging for the USSR, and even economically damaging because there was no power output that could be produced for the USSR and the rest of the region, right? And because there was Fukushima incident, not only that there was no security in the environment, but there's also no security in liability. There's no security in the stability no security in the credibility for the government. So that's political insecurity. So with all that confirmed, we now finally move on to securitization. What is it? Well, it's where security, where political matter is securitized, or political matters are turned into security matters, right? So we could say the creation of ASEAN. Why was it securitization? Well, because they believed that communism was a threat to Southeast Asia. Communism threat meaning directly security matters, right? So that's why there's creation of regionalism and how that's relevant to security. We have learned that. Now that's 10 minutes, and I hope that I was able to summarize all of it, all of the chapters, all of the weekly classes. And thank you for listening.